Happy Thursday. This is our final session of Nutrition Simplified. We've made it to the end of April, which is actually crazy. But if you haven't joined any of our previous sessions, I'm Jenny Turner. Today, we're going to be talking about dining out in a healthier way. And it's just not realistic for everyone to eat every meal at home. So I want to give you some of the tools for when you do decide to go out to a restaurant, but you still kind of want to be mindful of your nutrition choices. So that's what we're going to chat through today. We're going to start off by talking about the typical pitfalls of eating out, and then we're going to talk about how to review a restaurant's menu, which is very important. We're going to talk about the psychology and experience of dining out and how we can use the hunger scale to help us. You might have heard of the hunger scale before, but we're going to dive into it deeper. And then we'll finish off today by covering some helpful tips to set you up for success with some next steps. All right, so let's talk about why it matters to dive deeper into dining out. So meals eaten away from the home tend to be higher in fat and calories, but lower in fiber, calcium, and iron, which is probably no shock to anyone here. Portion sizes have grown a ton, which many of you know, and many restaurants serve more food than one person actually needs at one meal. And then people unintentionally consume more calories when faced with those larger portions, which might seem obvious, but now, restaurants aren't setting us up to make healthier choices. A lot of times they're going to have pre-meal offerings depending on where you go. Maybe it's chips and salsa, or maybe it's a bread basket. They often have condiments and other extras that come with your meal. So like I mentioned in the previous slide, portions are normally a lot larger than necessary, and those meals that you're getting have a lot less nutrients. So extra calories can come in many different forms, and the most common way that we consume more calories than we think is by drinking sodas or other sugary drinks. So coffee drinks oftentimes have a lot more sugar than we think they do. So if you're going to Starbucks often for your coffee in the morning, you might want to think about what you're ordering and what is inside of what you're ordering. So even smoothies and juices can have a higher sugar content and can be very high in calories. A lot of times we think, oh, a smoothie, very healthy, but sometimes it can have a lot of added sugar and can be very high in calories. But with all of that being said, it's very important that we think about what drinks we're consuming and those contents in them. So it's helpful to check out the nutrition facts of those beverages before we order them. And I know you can find all the nutrition facts for all the drinks at Starbucks on their app before you mobile order. That's the same with a lot of restaurants these days. They all have, those nutrition facts, whether it's on the app or on their website. So now when we're talking about beverages, we've got to hit on our adult beverages that contain alcohol. So just a reminder that calories add up quickly, especially when your drink involves a sugary mix-in. I think the biggest downfall with alcoholic beverages, and this is coming from personal experience, is that drinking kind of lowers our inhibitions when we make decisions. So oftentimes after ordering one drink, I'm letting a little bit loose and I'm ordering something more, more hearty than I would normally. Okay. I'm sure some of you can relate to that. And if you don't drink, don't start now. You're making a great choice by not drinking. If you do drink, try to limit yourself to no more than one drink per day for women and no more than 2 drinks per day for men. And then remember that one drink is one serving. So sometimes we can have a heavy pour on the wine. So technically, one heavy pour could be 2 glasses or 2 servings. So just be mindful of that as well. So that's alcohol for you. Now let's dive into reviewing the menus at popular restaurants. So with each restaurant we're going to go through, I'm going to have a fun quiz question for you. So turn your brains on. This is going to be fun. I'm so curious to see how y'all do with this. So I mentioned Starbucks earlier, so let's start there. So normally at Starbucks, we're going to order their medium size, which is a grande. So let's review what's in a grande caramel macchiato, which is a pretty popular menu item. You've probably heard of it. So in this drink, you have 7 grams of fat, 4.5 grams of saturated fat, 35 grams of carbs, no fiber, and 10 grams of protein, which equals a total of 250 calories. Now, it might not seem like much. You're like, oh, 250 calories, not bad. But imagine drinking this every day and starting your day with this drink along with whatever you're eating for breakfast. So it kind of just all adds up and adds up faster with a drink like this. So just important to note. Okay, now I've got a poll question for you. So let me pull that up. Okay, launching it now. You should see it pop up. So which menu item from Starbucks has the highest calorie content? Vanilla sweet cream cold brew, iced brown sugar shaken espresso, chai latte, or cappuccino? Which one has the highest calorie content, do you think? Take your best guess. All right, most people are saying the vanilla sweet cream cold brew. 47% of you. Okay. The correct answer was chai latte. So that was really interesting to me because you'd think that the drinks that have brown sugar or sweet cream in the name would be the highest in calories, but that isn't always the case. So can be tricky. So I know. All right, moving on. Let's look at Panera. So, if you're going to Panera for lunch and thinking to yourself, I'm going to get something on the healthy side, you might think, oh, let me get a turkey sandwich. Now, that can't be that bad, right? But this sandwich from Panera has 42 grams of fat, 15 grams of saturated fat, 104 grams of carbohydrates, and 55 grams of protein. And that gives us a grand total of 1,010 calories. And that's just the sandwich. So normally this will come with a side. So add that and you're almost at 1,500 calories just for your lunch. All right.
But
Another
that looks
poll
so
question.
good.
I know. It really does. I'm sorry if you're hungry right now. I really apologize because these pictures look really good. All right, which Panera bread item has the lowest calorie content? So switching gears, which one do you think has the lowest calorie content? Southwest chicken ranch salad, tuna salad sandwich, hearty fireside chili, or grilled chicken and avocado BLT? Which one do you think has the lowest calorie content? Give it a couple seconds. Oh, okay. Pretty even on the tuna salad sandwich and the grilled chicken and avocado BLT. 45% or 42 of you now, hearty fireside chili. Okay, so the correct answer is that hearty fireside chili. This was another one where I was a little bit surprised by the wording. The lowest calorie option had the word hearty in it, which normally you would think you want to stay away from something that says hearty because it kind of seems heavy. But in this case, it was the lowest calorie option. So just interesting. All right, so now let's say we stop at Chipotle for dinner. We opt for the burrito with chicken, normal portion brown rice, normal portion black beans, guacamole, tomato salsa, fajita veggies, cheese, lettuce. Sounds delicious. You've got a total of 1,230 calories and 54 grams of fat, and then 127 grams of carbs. Now, that's a burrito. I would say to easily make this a little bit healthier, you could opt for a bowl. You could do steak. You could do a lower portion of brown rice, so light on the brown rice. You could do black beans, normal amount. You could do that tomato salsa. You could do they have a green chili salsa as well. You could do that. Add the veggies, light on the cheese, and then lettuce. That's a great way to kind of make that burrito that I just mentioned a little bit healthier. But let me pull up our quiz question for Chipotle. Here we go. Which protein option at Chipotle has the lowest fat content? So which protein option? Lowest fat. Chipotle honey chicken, sofritas, carnitas, or steak? What do you think? Take your best guess. All right, most of us are saying steak. Okay, yeah. Shocking, I know, right? So this is just another great reminder that it's so important to read the nutrition facts before choosing the best option. So normally you might assume that the chicken option has the lowest fat content or even that plant-based option, which is that sofritas. But here it's just not the case. It's that steak. So again, nutrition labels are helpful. All right, so maybe you're craving some pizza, so you order some Domino's. You get a thin crust pizza because you're trying to make some healthier choices. So, two slices of that thin crust pizza is about 460 calories, and it has 36 grams of carbs, 28 grams of fat, and 10 grams of saturated fat. Now, who the heck is just eating two slices of thin crust pizza? If it's you, congratulations, that is self control. But me, not so much. Uh, okay, so let's see if y'all can answer this Domino's. Yeah, I know, even thin crust. You think you're doing something smart by choosing that option, right? All right, we're going to guess the calories. Here we go. That poll question is launching. Guess the calories 10-inch thin crust pizza with light cheese, feta cheese, chicken, spinach, and peppers. Your options are 350 calories, 190, 460, or 300. Just take your best guess. What do you think? Wow, okay. A lot of us choosing 460, some of us choosing 350. So pretty shocking here. The correct amount of calories for that 10-inch thin crust pizza was 190. Now, note, I did this from their little calculator on their website. It might not be 100% accurate, but it's probably pretty close. So just remember approximate, but by choosing a lighter cheese option and adding that chicken and other veggies, packing on those veggies, we were able to get a Domino's thin crust pizza under 200 calories. So pretty impressive there. All right, you guys. Last one here. We're going to look at a menu item from Subway. So we're going big here and we're ordering the foot-long monster. Okay, we're hungry. This has 80 grams of total fat, 30 grams of saturated fat, 83 grams of carbs, and 114 grams of protein, which equals a whopping 1,470 total calories. Now, I want you to know that I'm not sharing all of this to scare you or tell you that you can never go out to eat again. That's not what I'm saying. I'm showing you this so that you can try to be more mindful of what you're ordering. So there always are those healthier options at all of these restaurants. We have come a long way as a society. We're starting to hand over those healthier options to people. We're giving the nutrition facts. So there are ways to eat less calories. You just have to make an effort to look at those nutrition facts and look at the menu. So again, not trying to scare you guys. I just want to shed some light on what foods you might find at these restaurants and what's actually in them. So you can make a well-informed decision next time you go. So last poll question coming up for Subway. Let me find it. Okay. Which condiment question, is highest in calories? So when we're getting a sandwich, we've got lots of condiment options. So A, mayonnaise, B, Chipotle Southwest sauce, C, Caesar, or D, peppercorn ranch sauce. Pick which one you think is highest in calories. Okay. Caesar, yep. I expected y'all to pick Caesar because most of us know that's a pretty high in calorie dressing or condiment. But the correct answer is mayonnaise. Good old mayonnaise. Sometimes maybe you think that the specialty condiments like that Chipotle Southwest sauce or the peppercorn ranch sauce, you might think that those are higher in calories or fat. And you might think to yourself, oh, I'll just go with the safer option, mayonnaise. But actually, the mayonnaise is well above any of those other condiments in calories. It was actually kind of shocking how much. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I remember being like, whoa, that's way higher than the other ones. So just another reminder, look at those nutrition facts. So now let's chat about how we can navigate special occasions like birthday parties, social gatherings, where food and drinks are the highlight of the event. Life is an incredible thing, and it's filled with birthdays, parties, holidays, weddings, and vacations, if you're lucky to take vacations. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you can't enjoy these things because you 100% should. You can still enjoy the spice of life while also trying to make healthier decisions. So let's chat about how we can do that. The first step might be considering how often do I actually eat out? Is going out every time you eat absolutely necessary? Is it a special occasion or is it just a casual Tuesday? Try to consider how often you're eating out to discover if you can make a change. And then when you do go out to eat for a special occasion, ask yourself, what do I want to be mindful about during this meal? So, for example, maybe you want to be mindful about the calories you're consuming from beverages. So, maybe instead of ordering a soda, you order a sparkling water with a lime. Or maybe you want to be mindful about getting in your vegetables. So, answer that question and then ask yourself, what is going to make this meal more enjoyable? So, most of the time, I bet your answer doesn't even involve the food. It might involve the company that you're with or the conversations that you're going to have during the meal. So, if your answer is food related, that's okay. Don't ignore that. Simply acknowledge what you feel would make the meal more enjoyable and see how you can make a smart choice with that in mind. So, for example, if you really want your favorite dish at a certain restaurant and it's a hearty pasta dish, then don't deprive yourself of that pasta. Order that dish and maybe eat half of it and then save the other half for the next day, and then you get to enjoy that meal twice. Maybe you order the pasta dish with a side of steamed veggies. So that was your goal, is getting in those vegetables. Order a side of those steamed veggies with your favorite dish. There are always ways that you can make those healthier choices, but still honor the need to enjoy your meal. So here are some other tips when it comes to special occasions. Like I said, try and focus on the other elements of the occasion rather than the food. So focus on the people that you're with, the conversations that you're going to have, the meaning of the get together, and then honor your body's signals. So if you're hungry, don't ignore that. If you do ignore it, you're probably going to be more likely to eat more later on. So try to give your body what it needs and then go back to enjoying the occasion. Okay, hunger scale. A good way to control your urges is to overeat. Um, well, sorry, a good way to control your urges to overeat is to use the hunger scale. So it's a 1 to 10 scale where 1 is you're so hungry that you don't even care what you eat or how much you eat, you just need food. Okay. And then it goes up from there. So you'll see 3 to 5 is in a different color because 3 to 5 is where we want to aim to be on the regular. So that 3 is that you're hungry and your stomach is growling, which we probably experience multiple times a day. And then you start eating and you get to a 4, which is you're not hungry anymore, but you're also not satisfied yet. And then you keep eating and you get to a 5, where now you're satisfied, you're comfortable, and you're no longer hungry. So a 5 should be the goal every time we eat. Now, when we don't use the hunger scale and tune into our body while we eat, we tend to keep going up that scale until we get into that more uncomfortable zone. So this is when we start start to overeat and we feel very full, almost to the point where we feel sick. So again, make sure you're tuning into your body and listening to the cues that it gives you. And we want to try to stick in that 3 to 5 range. So how can we apply the hunger scale when we're eating out? A good tip is to try not to go to the restaurant super duper hungry. So you can try to avoid being a 1 or a 2 or even a 3 on the scale when you're walking into the restaurant. You're more likely to overeat if you're overly hungry. So next, try to stop when you feel full. This is way easier said than done, but a good way to do that is to eat slow and try to tune into your body as much as you can throughout the meal. A good way to do that is to put your utensils down every once in a while to kind of check in with your body. Drink some water, drink some of that sparkling soda with that lime, put your utensils down, take a break. Your body tells you so much. So it's really important that you try to listen to it. So let's talk about how our emotions can play a part in our hunger levels and our cravings. So I'm sure that you've heard people say that they're eating their feelings, or maybe you've done that before, eating your feelings. Well, it's true that sometimes we do find comfort in food, and when our emotions are high, we sometimes forget to slow down and think about the reason that we're eating. So we often want the comfort of certain foods when we're sad or we're stressed. So it's important to allow yourself to satisfy those cravings for specific foods. We talked about that in previous weeks. I have a major sweet tooth, so instead of denying myself of that ice cream that I'm craving, I'll normally just try and find a healthier ice cream option. So there's so many brands out there that have healthy desserts, but Yasso is a great brand. They have a lot of Greek yogurt bars that taste really good. There's also Halo Top ice cream. I used to like that. Now I don't. But there's so many other higher protein, um, healthier ice creams out there. So yes, I am eating ice cream and I'm satisfying my cravings, but I'm being just a little bit smarter about how I do that. So again, doing this is going to help me in the long run, because if I avoided that craving and I just let it build up, eventually I'll just crack and I'm going to end up eating 2 pints of Bluebell in one sitting. So definitely try to acknowledge those cravings before they get out of hand. All right, it's important to mention that sometimes things can be a little bit deeper than surface level. Um, and we're talking, a lot of surface level today. So if you feel like you're struggling in a deeper way with food, you can learn more about eating disorders by visiting this link on this slide. Eating disorders are very serious, but very treatable. So I actually struggled with an eating disorder in the past and was able to receive the help that I needed. And my relationship with food is much better than it's ever been. So eating disorders are a lot more common than you think among women and men. So please, if you're struggling with any of these signs of an eating disorder, I would really encourage you to take action, because it can get better. So visit that link if you need to. The experience of eating is extremely enjoyable, and we should take the time to enjoy it. So slow down, sit down at a table with minimal distractions if possible, and enjoy your meal with others. So I want you to think about something small you can do to try and enjoy the experience of eating a little bit more. So maybe most nights you're eating a meal in front of the TV, which kind of distracts you from actually enjoying what you're eating. So maybe this week you try to sit down at the table. And doing that just once a week can make a huge difference. So try to find one thing you can do to enjoy that experience a little bit more. So now I'm going to give you some tips when you're going out to eat. Now, if you remember from week 1, we saw this slide before. We talked about having a balanced plate. So I want you to remember this when you're eating out. So you want to try and make a fourth of your plate protein, a fourth of it grains, and half of it fruits and vegetables. And I know this might not always be possible, but try your best to create a balanced meal when choosing what you're eating. So remember to consider the drink that you order as well, because that does factor in. And how does that fit into your balanced plate? So think about all of those things. And then it's important that we plan ahead when we're eating out. So first, Think about the occasion. I always suggest this. Consider if you're eating out for convenience because you don't want to cook, or if you're eating out for an experience. If you're choosing convenience, then maybe you're choosing a healthy option. If you're choosing an experience, then maybe you concentrate more on portion control and balancing out those meals throughout the day. So try and choose a restaurant that has those healthier options if you can, so that you can kind of set yourself up for success. And then, as always, review that menu ahead of time. It's going to make a huge difference. That's a big one because a lot of times restaurants will have the nutrition information easily accessible on their website, but it might not be there when you get to the restaurant on the menu. You might not see those calories or that nutrition content. So it takes that planning and looking at it ahead of time. So look at the ingredients of certain dishes. Try to limit the foods that are battered, fried, buttered, or sautéed, and then make simple swaps if possible. And try to limit those sauces, the dressings, the mayonnaise, like we talked about earlier, and other high calorie condiments. A good tip is to try and ask for a light or fat-free dressing options. A lot of times they will have one. You just have to ask for it. And then a lot of times you can request that your food be cooked in a certain way. So if you're ordering a side of vegetables, you could request that it not be cooked with butter, or that they remove any of the sauces that they add to it. So you can make those requests. I know sometimes it might feel a little bit daunting to do that, but trust me, I mean, you can do it, they can do it, and it's totally fine to make those requests. So you can always ask for a child size or a senior portion, or you can ask for a box with your meal. And then, like I said earlier, set aside half of your plate before you even start eating. That's a great way to not be tempted to keep eating once you've finished half of the plate. A lot of times I'll set my intentions of, oh, I'm only going to eat half of this. And then, I get to the end of that half and I'm like, well, let's just eat the other half. So that could be stopped by putting half of it away before I even start eating. A good option is to split the entree or enjoy a side salad as an appetizer. Sometimes you can even find a good appetizer to order as an entree. So that's a good way to kind of get lower portion sizes. Some other tips you might find helpful include avoiding the all-you-can-eat buffets, which I know they are so fun, but even the name itself implies overeating. So if you can try to skip out on those, that would be probably your best bet. Try and skip on dessert or order one portion and share amongst everyone at the table. A lot of times you can get one dessert, grab a lot of spoons, and just take one or two bites, and that satisfies your sweet tooth. If you do order pizza, just try and choose the thin crust option. And again, like on that Domino's slide, add those vegetables, add some protein. Your vegetables, it's a great way to get variety in your meal. And once again, don't be afraid to make special requests on how they cook your food or how they serve it. And then try and build in a natural pause where you stop eating and you check in with your body's hunger and fullness signals. So doing that creates a space for decision making. So some examples of that might be using a smaller bowl or a plate, putting away those leftovers like I mentioned, or using chopsticks if you aren't using them. If you aren't normally using them to eat, that kind of forces you to slow down a little bit and take those natural pauses. So again, set down that silverware, take a sip of water, and breathe, check in. So let's talk next steps. So we've covered a lot over the past 4 weeks, and I hope that everyone learned a lot. But now it's time to apply what we've learned together. So I want you to think of just one thing that you can apply moving forward. So maybe you try and tune into your body more often and utilize that hunger scale. Or maybe you try and cook a majority of your meals at home during the week. We've had that challenge multiple times throughout the past couple of weeks. Maybe you challenge your family to sit down at the table for dinner this week instead of sitting in front of the TV. So take a moment and think about those changes that you can make right now. And remember, small changes are perfect. We don't want to go crazy. because then we're just going to not do them in the long run. So small, simple changes make a huge difference. If you'd like to share what you decided you're going to do in the chat, I'd love to see some of it. Maybe it can encourage someone else moving forward, but please feel free to share. So that wraps up our class series. So if you missed any of our sessions, I really encourage you to go back and listen to those recordings. You can find them in this chat. You can find them on our Slack page. You can find them on our YouTube channel. And I'll be posting this one after today. But before we finish, I want to highlight some of the programs that we do have coming up. So the first is our MRF challenge and training program to honor our troops. So the MRF is a fitness challenge that could be really daunting for a lot of people, but with this training that we've added to it, it can be a possibility for everyone to participate. So you'll actually have a full week to complete the challenge if you'd like. So all fitness levels can participate in and honor our Navy SEAL Michael Murphy. So click that link to register. And then our May educational webinar is going to be on breath and stress, which is going to be a great reminder on how to stay mindful and utilize your breath to decrease that stress. If you received this webinar series, you should already be registered to receive all of our upcoming webinars. So don't worry about registering. You should be fine. And then lastly, we're focusing on healthy carbohydrates and whole grains in our cooking demos throughout this quarter. So this month, or May, we're going to be doing a super easy and delicious lunch that you can meal prep ahead of time. Remember, we talked a lot about meal prepping. So this is a good one to tune into. We're going to be doing a black bean and sweet potato quesadilla, and that'll be on the third Wednesday of the month. And I went ahead and linked some of our Slack pages where you can stay up to date with everything happening, upcoming programs, upcoming challenges throughout the year, and just stay connected with us. So that is it. Thank you guys so much for joining this week and the past couple of weeks. I've enjoyed it. I hope you have enjoyed it. Feel free to come off mute if you have any questions or any comments. I'm going to check out the chat to see if we have any questions there. But if not, thank you guys so much.